Hi, everyone. My name is Mehmet Shah. I'm a 2015 CPA, alumni of KPMG, and currently I work as the Chief Financial Officer at StackAdapt. You got to join the company, not the role. It's less important to get an FP&A role as opposed to accounting as your first position out of the firm. Join the rocket ship and things tend to work themselves out when you're smart and you hustle. So there are three things that I wish I knew when I got my letters, and I break them up into what, when, and how. So what is thinking about the role that you want to get. The role that you want to get is not as important in general as opposed to where you're going to get the role. Ultimately, you can get any job out of the gate that eventually can grow into something much bigger and much better for your career. But really what's going to limit you or what's going to propel you forward is the where. So where are you landing? Is it at a blue chip company like Rogers, or is it going to be a high growth startup like StackAdapt? Ultimately, a high growth environment where there's plenty of opportunity to grow your career and move up through the ranks, that's going to be the best opportunity for you. And really high growth startups have these opportunities because they're growing so fast that the needs of the company are often changing and give you the opportunity to slot into different roles in different places. In terms of the when, you really need to make a decision about when, right after you get your letters, because you need to decide whether or not you're going to be staying in that role or at that company for long term. So if you don't plan on staying in audit or you don't plan on moving into, let's say, transaction services, I think the best bet for you would be to move away as soon as possible so you get more experience in industry. Because ultimately, as you move up the ranks at the firm, it's not going to translate as directly as you might think into the role that you might get in industry. Another thing that you want to be looking at when you're about to join industry is a structured versus unstructured environment. So typically a structured environment might be a large established corporation, whereas an unstructured environment might be a smaller nascent startup. The big difference between the two is that at a large structured organization, you're going to know where your career path can go. You're really going to be able to understand what the different promotions are and what the different levels of hierarchy are. Whereas in an unstructured environment at a startup, you're not necessarily going to have that insight into where your career can go, but the main difference between the two is that it's going to be more flexible. So ultimately, if you're a high performer, if you put in the work in an unstructured environment, you might be able to take your career much farther in the same amount of time, opposed to a more structured environment where everything is very hierarchical and really based off the different promotion levels. The interview stage of when you go into industry is going to be absolutely critical because it's an opportunity not only for the company that you're trying to join to learn more about you, but it's also an opportunity for you to learn about that company and ultimately who you're going to be working with. So ask lots of questions, understand what they do, understand what their growth trajectory is, and really get a keen sense of who this person is that you might be working with, because ultimately they will likely end up being your mentor or eventually the person who's going to be deciding the career trajectory of the opportunity that you're about to take.